And howdy, everyone. Happy Sabbath. Welcome to Word Redeux number 126. Howdy, Andrew.
Hi.
Yeah, okay. Hey, I got it muted on the other side. That's miraculous. All right. How's your week going?
Good. Very good.
Okay. Well, it's about the size of it. Good, very good, even if it isn't. Right? Because God is still God. Yah is still Yah. All right. If you don't have a Bible, you can go to kingjamesbibleonline.org, blueletterbible.org, esword.net, biblehub.com, all kinds of research tools available there at any of those. And if you want to listen, BibleStudyTools.com has an audio Bible. Don't forget to go to sign up for the free classes at c2kreport.com. I think the most recent one started Monday. So you may have 3.5, 4 weeks to wait. Let's see here. Today we are continuing on in the book of 1Samuel, chapters 17 and 18. All right. Any exciting news today? Nuclear bombs going off, earthquakes? Okay, not that we know of. All right. Let's go ahead and pray in, shall we? Heavenly Father, thank you very much for giving us this time to come together for fellowship, to be able to study your word. We thank you for that. We would ask you to pour out your spirit of knowledge, understanding, and discernment on everybody that's here now or in the future, that they get the message that you need them to have. And we thank you for that. We would ask you to pour your comforting spirit out on those that are saying their final goodbyes today, and also continue the healing of those that have been suffering from recent illnesses. And for those that are in a dire situation, we would ask for you to soften their heart, that they would seek you out and call on you for whatever you have planned for them. We thank you for that. Bless you in Jesus Yeshua's name. Amen. Okay. Let's see. I got a billion things to hook here. We got that. And then we got to click this one, click that, and then go over here and click that, hit that, and then go back over, hit that. Look at that. All right. That's what we're talking about. But now I have to go into this and adjust that so everybody can hear. All right. Let's go.
1 Samuel 17. Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shechoh, which belongeth to Judah, and pitched between Shechoh and Azekah in Ephes-dammim. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. And he had an helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. And he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield went before him. And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel, and said unto them, Why are ye come out to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine, and ye servants to Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. If he be able to fight with me and to kill me, then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall ye be our servants and serve us. And the Philistine said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. When Saul and all Israel heard those words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Now David was the son of that Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse, and he had 8 sons. And the man went among men for an old man in the days of Saul. And the 3 eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. And the names of his 3 sons that went to the battle were Eliab the firstborn, and next unto him Abinadab, and the third Shammah. And David was the youngest, and the 3 eldest followed Saul. But David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And the Philistine drew near morning and evening, and presented himself 40 days. And Jesse said unto David his son, Take now for thy brethren an ephah of this parched corn, and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp to thy brethren. And carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their 1,000, and look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge. Now Saul and they, and all the men of Israel, were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines. And David rose up early in the morning, and left the sheep with a keeper, and took and went, as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the trench, as the host was going forth to the fight, and shouted for the battle. For Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array, army against army. And David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage, and ran into the army, and came and saluted his brethren. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same words, and David heard them. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him, and were sore afraid. And the men of Israel said, Have ye seen this man that is come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up. And it shall be that the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel. And David spake to the men that stood by him, saying, What shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine, and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God? And the people answered him after this manner, saying, So shall it be done to the man that killeth him. And Eliab, his eldest brother, heard when he spake unto the men. And Eliab's anger was kindled against David, and he said, Why camest thou down hither? And with whom hast thou left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know thy pride, and the naughtiness of thine heart, for thou art come down that thou mightest see the battle. And David said, What have I now done? Is there not a cause? And he turned from him toward another, and spake after the same manner. And the people answered him again after the former manner. And when the words were heard which David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul. And he sent for him. And David said to Saul, Let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. And Saul said to David, Thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. And David said unto Saul, Thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he hath defied the armies of the living God. David said, moreover, The Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion, and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, Go, and the Lord be with thee. And Saul armed David with his armor, and he put an helmet of brass upon his head. Also he armed him with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off him. And he took his staff in his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag which he had, even in a scrip, and his sling was in his hand. And he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog that thou comest to me with staves? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said to David, Come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field. Then said David to the Philistine, Thou comest to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield. But I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. This day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hand, and I will smite thee, and take thine head from thee. And I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. And it came to pass, when the Philistine arose, and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted, and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag, and took thence a stone, and slang it, and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine, and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran, and stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Israel and of Judah arose, and shouted, and pursued the Philistines until thou come to the valley, and to the gates of Ekron. And the wounded of the Philistines fell down by the way to Sharaim, even unto Gath and unto Ekron. And the children of Israel returned from chasing after the Philistines, and they spoiled their tents. And David took the head of the Philistine, and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent. And when Saul saw David go forth against the Philistines, he said unto Abner, the captain of the host, Abner, whose son is this youth? And Abner said, As thy soul liveth, O king, I cannot tell. And the king said, Inquire thou whose son the stripling is. And as David returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, Abner took him, and brought him before Saul with the head of the Philistine in his hand. And Saul said to him, Whose son art thou, thou young man? And David answered, I am the son of thy servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite. First Samuel 18. And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking unto Saul, that the soul of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. And Saul took him that day, and would let him go no more home to his father's house. Then Jonathan and David made a covenant, because he loved him as his own soul. And Jonathan stripped himself of the robe that was upon him, and gave it to David, and his garments, even to his sword, and to his bow, and to his girdle. And David went out whithersoever Saul sent him, and behaved himself wisely. And Saul set him over the men of war, and he was accepted in the sight of all the people, and also in the sight of Saul's servants. And it came to pass, as they came, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, that women came out of all cities of Israel, singing and dancing to meet King Saul, with tabrets, with joy, and with instruments of music. And the women answered one another as they played, and said, Saul hath slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. And Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him, and he said, They have ascribed unto David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed but thousands. And what can he have more but the kingdom? And Saul eyed David from that day and forward. And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from God came upon Saul, and he prophesied in the midst of the house. And David played with his hand, as at other times. And there was a javelin in Saul's hand. And Saul cast the javelin, for he said, I will smite David even to the wall with it. And David avoided out of his presence twice. And Saul was afraid of David, because the Lord was with him, and was departed from Saul. Therefore Saul removed him from him, and made him his captain over 1,000. And he went out and came in before the people. And David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. Wherefore when Saul saw that he behaved himself very wisely, he was afraid of him. But all Israel and Judah loved David, because he went out and came in before them. And Saul said to David, Behold, my elder daughter Merab, her will I give thee to wife. Only be thou valiant for me, and fight the Lord's battles. For Saul said, Let not mine hand be upon him, but let the hand of the Philistines be upon him. And David said unto Saul, Who am I, and what is my life, or my father's family in Israel, that I should be son-in-law to the king? But it came to pass at the time when Merab, Saul's daughter, should have been given to David, that she was given unto Adriel, the Maholathite, to wife. And Michal, Saul's daughter, loved David. And they told Saul, and the thing pleased him. And Saul said, I will give him her, that she may be a snare to him, and that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Wherefore Saul said to David, Thou shalt this day be my son-in-law in the one of the twain. And Saul commanded his servants, saying, Commune with David secretly, and say, Behold, the king hath delight in thee, and all his servants love thee. Now therefore be the king's son-in-law. And Saul's servant spake those words in the ears of David. And David said, Seemeth it to you a light thing to be a king's son-in-law, seeing that I am a poor man, and lightly esteemed? And the servants of Saul told him, saying, On this manner spake David. And Saul said, Thus shall ye say to David, The king desireth not any dowry, but 100 foreskins of the Philistines to be avenged of the king's enemies. But Saul thought to make David fall by the hand of the Philistines. And when his servants told David these words, it pleased David well to be the king's son-in-law, and the days were not expired. Wherefore David arose, and went, he and his men, and slew of the Philistines 200 men. And David brought their foreskins, and they gave them in full tale to the king, that he might be the king's son-in-law. And Saul gave him Michal his daughter to wife. And Saul saw and knew that the Lord was with David, and that Michal, Saul's daughter, loved him. And Saul was yet the more afraid of David, and Saul became David's enemy continually. Then the princes of the Philistines went forth, and it came to pass after they went forth that David behaved himself more wisely than all the servants of Saul, so that his name was much set by.
All righty. You. Okay, let's go back to chapter 17, shall we? So here we got the showdown. Yes? No? You with me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. So this is all very interesting, and it builds up the size of Goliath quite a bit here, as well as David's small and young. Now, it says he's a boy, but I don't see God, Yah, breaking his own commandment. So he has to be at least 20 years old to be able to go into this battle. You know, but he is just a shepherd, right? He's only a shepherd. Disobedient. Wait, what are we talking about? What are we talking about here, GR? Yeah. So, this is interesting to me. And if you remember the last time we went through this book, we were discussing, what were we discussing? We were discussing the stave. And let me see if I can find that again. Because it talks about his staff. He took his staff with him. Right? And if we look, oh, that's a video. We don't need a video. So basically, this is a combination shepherd's staff and sling. Let's see. Right. So that's a real crude one right there. Let's see. Does that disappear? That disappeared. And that's another video. Doesn't anybody have pictures of these things? All right. There's a picture of someone using one. So, anyways, that increases the throwing force.
Oh, see now.
Multiple levels, right? Is what that does. So, instead of having just your arm as your lever with the sling on the end of it, you've got, if you can see right there, right, it goes up. So now you not only have your arm with the sling, but this big lever that allows you to get some super velocity on whatever it is you're slinging, right? Yes.
You're showing a
it is.
picture. I can't see a picture.
No, we already did away with it.
Oh,
Did you miss it?
I guess so.
Okay. We'll post it up again. We'll post another one. Oh, look at this one. No, that's another video. Come on, man. Okay, well, what is this? It's a screenshot from a video. There. Right? So he's got two different types of these staff slings. You can see here he has his...
Still don't see anything.
Oh, you don't? Let's go this. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. So we got this here, and you can see where his hand is holding on to the release for that. And then that's just a different design of the same sort of thing. This is like, this one over here is like, I don't know if you ever did the, put an apple on a stick when you were a kid and see how far you could fling it. Yeah, basically a handheld catapult.
There's like dog toys that throw tennis balls.
Can be. So he was able to get some velocity on this thing. Not only that, you figure if a staff is your height, he's able to get that up to probably the height of Goliath's head as well, and really send a zinger in there. So, anyways, that's very interesting to me. Yep, handheld catapult, handheld trebuchet. Nothing like a big rock to the head. So, what jumped out at you on this here, Andrew? What do you got?
Well, I'm reading from the NET Bible,
Okay.
and in these translation notes at the beginning of 17, it says that the Masoretic text and the Septuagint are really different. It says the Septuagint lacks almost half the material, half the verses, and like biblical scholars are really divided on which things should be left in or out. You know, some people say that all things were added to, kind of how Chronicles tries to emphasize certain aspects of of David. And then some people say, no, that's not really what happened. You can't know that happened. This says it seems more likely that the Greek translator has faithfully rendered a Hebrew text itself that was much shorter than the Masoretic text for the Septuagint. So it's just an interesting thing. I didn't know that.
Yeah, once you start studying all that stuff, the differences between the texts and everything, it's pretty interesting. So the Masoretes were a Jewish sect, and the translation that they use for that comes from around 1000 A.D. So quite some time after the Septuagint, and they were also intent on hiding the name of God among other things. So like that's why the word Lord is all throughout the Old Testament, because they erased Yahovah. Can't have that, right? How are you supposed to call on the name whereby everyone will be saved if they hide the name? So, why did he pull 5 smooth stones out of the brook? Right? Well, there were 5 giants left, right? So there was Goliath and his brothers. So that's interesting as well. Find it's kind of funny the way Goliath words that out, though. Am I a dog that you come to me with staves? And then curses him by Baal and whatever other gods they're worshiping at the time. Molech, Remphan. And David just turns around. No, you're going to be delivered into my hand. Can you imagine that? Someone that like comes up to probably a little below your waist telling you, not only am I going to defeat you, I'm going to cut your head off and feed your body and all the bodies of everyone else around you to the fowls of the air and the wild beasts of the field. Hey, calm down. Someone's a little cranky. Have you had a nap today?
Right.
I mean, you'd just be dismissive of it completely. So that, and you got to remember too, in this time when this is not long after Israel were total servants to the Philistines, and they weren't allowed to have weapons at all. So this is like a triple insult. He's coming at him with this, basically a shepherd's toy, is the way Goliath's looking at it. Yep. That is true. There's multiple translations everywhere, which is why Yeshua told us, beware the scribes. All right. Where did you see cheese, Lynn? When he was bringing bread and cheese? All right. Anyways, you got anything else from 17?
It's just interesting that it's such a long chapter, but there's only like 3 that are actually of the battle, 3 verses that are of the battle.
Yeah, it's not very long.
Right.
And I find it to me it's interesting that he comes to this. Saul gives him his armor and stuff, and then after Saul gives him his armor, and he's like, I don't want that. I haven't proven it in battle. It's probably all big on him anyways, because Saul was head and shoulders above everyone else. And anyways, he doesn't recognize. He's like, "Who is this kid?" After David defeats Goliath, he's like, "Who is he? What? Who? I don't have any idea who this kid is."
Well, Samuel already knew it.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So let's go to 18 here. Whoop. What happened there? There we go. Okay, back to 18. Now this is interesting. It's kind of like Saul kidnaps David, right? Saul took him that day and would let him go no more to his father's house, which is also fulfillment of prophecy when Samuel told them what was going to happen if they chose a king over them. He's going to take your sons and daughters.
Right.
Chew on that one for a while, huh? So then Jonathan and David got this big friendship, and it becomes more and more apparent that Saul doesn't like David. He's jealous of him, a bad jealousy, right? He wants to kill him. He envies him because he's getting all these awesome blessings. Okay, chat's pretty entertaining right now. Okay, spell check, disable it. You don't want it anyways. All your spelling mistakes have to come from the hard. Okay, what jumped out at you here? Talk to me. Talk to me.
I mean, when Saul first starts trying to kill David, he just leaves. But then he comes back. It's just like they don't seem to emphasize it really. It's like Saul threw his spear thinking, "I'll nail David to the wall," but David escapes.
Yeah.
And Saul feared David. David wasn't scared of Saul.
Nope. Well, you got to remember, he's been anointed as king already. David has. Saul has told he was going to lose the kingdom. David has been anointed as king, and he's not yet recognized by the nation as a king. So he must have an immense amount of trust and belief and faith in God, because God said, "You will be king. I'm anointing you king. You're already the king." But he hasn't yet taken the kingdom. So that's how can I be king if I'm dead, right? Is the way I'm kind of seeing it. And that kind of like the same thing with Jesus in the boat during the storm, and he's asleep, and all the disciples are like, "The boat's gonna sink." He wakes up. You guys have no faith at all, and tells the storm to be quiet.
Right.
Let's see. Yep. He has been abducted by the king, and everyone in the region. Clued is breathing bated breath. Pardon me. So this is some very interesting stuff here. And he tells him, "Okay, I'm going to give you my oldest daughter." And he's like, "No, I can't have her. Who am I? This dirty little hood rat, this dirty little shepherd rat, to be the king's son-in-law. I'm nobody." And he's like, okay, well, don't worry about a dowry. You can give me 100 foreskins as a dowry. Yep, I agree to that. This is when he started building David's squad of merry men. And, continues on. So he doesn't give him the 100 foreskins, he gives him 200 foreskins. Now, I have a question for everybody. If he's only collecting foreskins, did he really kill them? Did he give them the option? Okay, you convert to my belief system and we'll circumcise you and we'll call it even right here.
Possibly.
What's the argument for that? I mean, Scripture says that he killed them, though. He slew
Yes.
of the Philistines 200 men. In that, let's see here. So what is this tear? Isn't that like the weight? Full weight? Full tail, sorry. Malay, Malah. It just means full. Okay. Interesting. All right. So, what was this? Ew. Not posting that. Yep. Like a Gordian knot. Gordian knot. Yeah. Yeah. So he gets the second daughter, Michal. Says she loves David, but he's also sending her as a spy. Wait, what is it? What is it he says?
She may become a snare to him.
There you go. Yep. Snare.
So he seemed to actually want to become the king's son-in-law.
Right.
At first it sounds like, oh, that's not for me.
And then, later on, she proves herself to not be so great a wife. But, it is what it is, I guess. Delilah. Okay. What else you got? Anything else jumping out at you, Andrew?
No.
No? I don't have anything else either. Look at that. Short today. Everybody gets to go rest. Yay! All right, everybody. Don't have anything else. Don't forget, please like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell thingy. You remember the bell thingy, right? Yeah, we're almost up to 350 subscribers. When we hit 350 subscribers, we're going to do another Bible study. That's right. I'm not fooling around. Not fooling around. That is that's going to be a massive party day, just like all of them. So, anyways, everybody, thanks for coming. Pass it on. Love you all. Bye. That's the wrong way. That's the wrong way. There's the way.